Hey everyone, and welcome in here to the Daily Delivery. I am Cole. Hope you're doing well. Fitz is out sick today, so he has entrusted me as the backup quarterback to talk about a very serious issue, and it pertains to Kansas State's walk-on program, one of the greatest walk-on programs in all of college football. Is it gonna die? We're going to talk about that here in a second, but before we do, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps us grow, and comment. And maybe for today's video, comment your favorite Kansas State walk-on and maybe a particular story about them, because there's so many outstanding walk-ons that have come through Kansas State. The top of my mind, Ryan Mueller, one of the greatest defensive ends from St. Thomas Aquinas High School in Kansas City. Don't forget Jordy Nelson, the should-be NFL Hall of Famer who won a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers, was one of the best receivers in school history from Riley County. It's incredible the amount of players that Kansas State has produced in its walk-on program. And even throughout college football, you think about former preferred walk-ons and former walk-ons. You go back to Rudy. I mean, again, the walk-on legacy that has been around in college football, it's what makes the sport great. It's kids who have bet on themselves and made a difference. And I think of the kid like Cade Warner, who went to Nebraska as a walk-on, became a captain, transferred to Kansas State, became a captain, and won a Big 12 championship. It's these stories that make the sport outstanding. But unfortunately, that may be going away very soon, and I'm going to tell you why. In the NCAA, before this season, before this upcoming season, there was a rule where every team had 85 scholarships. That meant that you could have 85 players who you could have. Here you go. Here's a scholarship. Take it. We'll pay for your tuition. We'll pay for your room and board, and we will get you to school on a full ride. There was 85 of those, but there was a roster limit of 120. So a school could then carry the 35 extra players that would be deemed walk-ons who are not on scholarship. And for Kansas State, that was always very successful, as some of the names we've already discussed. These players would come into the program. They'd bet on themselves, a lot of them from small town Western Kansas or from hardworking kids who were maybe a tad undersized and under recruited out of the Kansas City area. They would come in, they would work their butts off, they would get that scholarship, and they would produce. Even on this team, a guy like Ty Bowman, a guy who's been around for 5 years from Chanute, came in as a quarterback, turned into a wide receiver, and has been a staple on special teams. Seth Porter from Texas, Ross Elder from Rockhurst High School, these specialists on special teams that have just been outstanding for Kansas State the past few seasons, that could be going away. And the reason is the new rule that is being implemented by the NCAA. And it's a shame, because the pageantry of college football could be going away. And the new rule says that there is a 105 hard roster limit. So 15 less players, but that is not the kicker. The kicker is there's 105 scholarships for 105 players. Now, how does that affect the walk-ons? Well, it's pretty simple. There's 20 more scholarships than there were before. And so those 20 players who were not on scholarship, the question is, do you give them a scholarship, or do you say see you later and you go out and do you get guys who you think could help impact your team immediately? I certainly don't envy any of the people in the Veneer complex, because these are hard conversations that are having to be had. On top of that, you have to cut 15 players. So regardless, that 120 number is going to be down to 105. Inevitably, there will be kids who have to hit the transfer portal, not because they want to, but because they're told. And for a lot of them, that means they may never play football again. How many kids at Kansas State currently would rather just be a student, would rather just go to Kansas State because they love Manhattan, they love the school, and they want to represent their state school, than go play somewhere else? I don't have the answer to that question, but I know there's already kids who are being put into the transfer portal because that's what the new rules say. And it's a shame. And it's only going to impact the higher institutions. These SEC schools are going to load up on scholarship kids. And even for a school like Alabama, like Tennessee, that had those walk-on stories, because every school has them, we're not going to see that anymore. It's a shame that the NCAA has put this into play, and I understand why, but I think it's only going to lead to more chaos in the transfer portal, as if we don't have enough. Walk-ons are a major part of college football. They should be a major part of college football. They've been a part of the story at Kansas State football since when Bill Snyder got there and turned this program around. I feel sick today for the Kansas State players and players across the country who are being pushed into the transfer portal because the NCAA feels like they need to take their opportunities away. It's sad, it's sick, it's disgusting, but unfortunately, it's the world in which we live. Either way, I know one thing. If those walk-ons that are currently at K-State, if they can help the team in any way, Chris Kleiman, this staff, they will give them a scholarship because this is a developmental program at Kansas State. That's not going to change. But the walk-on policy now, that is. Maybe I'm Fitz's walk-on. Is he going to give me a scholarship? I don't know. After this daily delivery, who knows?